So there's this weird thing that happens to you when you grow up watching professional wrestling. And specifically for me, as an African American, you get to the point when eventually the people you liked or inspired you get a lot more complicated. And sometimes the person you love the most is the person you struggle with the worst. And for me, that person is Triple H. And let me just say this now, this video isn't a hit piece, nor is it in defense of him. This video is just about what Triple H means to me as a pro wrestler, as a wrestling fan, and just as an all around person. And I truly believe within the WWE system, Triple H is the greatest wrestler of all time. When people talk about the Attitude Era, they always bring up the names The Rock, Kurt Angle, Kane, The Undertaker, DX as a whole. And of course, if I didn't say already, Shawn Michaels. But really, it's easy to forget that every once in a while, Triple H's name does get lost in this shuffle. Don't get me wrong, The Rock was The Rock at this time, and he was skyrocketing, and so was Stone Cold Steve Austin. But the guy who kept me coming back to the Fed, that kept me watching Monday nights, that got me banned in my house from watching Raw and SmackDown, besides The Godfather, you don't know how many times this guy came on. My parents were like, okay, that's it, no more WWF. But that person for me is Triple H. And this has always been kind of hard for me to explain because Triple H really wasn't the coolest. He wasn't the meanest, but so much care and work went into Triple H. Like, he truly did look constructed. I mean, his music, his body, his level and intensity was some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. I mean, the whole presentation, right? Like the spitting of the water, everything was awesome to me. Like, I just couldn't get enough of it. And to me, before John Cena or anybody else, Triple H wasn't born the guy, right? He wasn't he wasn't shooting here. He wasn't a third or second generation. No, Triple H is the prototype of not being handed the title of the guy, but becoming the guy. Because like I said, through everything, through all those names, Triple H would step up to the plate and he would bat. But the thing is, Triple H to me is the greatest of all time, but he has one hell of an asterisk by his name. So let's jump into this. Loving Triple H comes with baggage. And a lot of that baggage comes from his on-screen decisions, as well as possible backstage politics. As I said at the beginning of this video, Triple H is the prototype of what it's like to start at the bottom and become the man at the top. Now, what degree of the man he became is arguable, but at one time, he was the main guy. And despite everything, every match that WWE has done or come up with, Triple H has done. He has held almost every title there is to hold. Well, the ones that he would consider prestigious. But through everything he's done, he did, and we cannot deny this, marry the boss's daughter. And whether you want to admit it or not, it does change the view of how you look at his career. Now, the backstage politicking stories has followed him for years. His jealousy, who he's held back, people he's stepped on or betrayed. Now, we'll never know what's true, what is exaggerated, and what is technically wrestling myth, but perception does matter. And perception is what creates that asterisk. Because when someone has power, especially power that is granted to them due to being married into the family through the boss's daughter, their decisions carry weight. So here comes the big thing, right? Okay. It's harder for me to be a Triple H fan because I'm an African-American guy. Triple H's aesthetic choices make it hard for me. His fascination with Latin phrases and this whole German Iron Cross thing, the heavy leaning into German military symbolism is kind of freaking weird. Now, some people can say like it's just an edgy design, but trust me, as a Black Triple H fan, it came off as discomfort. It was very uncomfortable trying to cheer this guy on, and it's like, why do you have an iron cross in front of your draws. Like this is hard, man. You're making this hard. And those symbols don't exist in some vacuum. They carry very big historical weight to them. And as I said, when you're a black guy like navigating this white space, stuff like that makes it a lot harder. And it's harder for me to openly be like, while other people are saying like The Rock is their guy, or like Booker T over on WCW, or Harlem Heat, and like, Devon. It's harder for me to say Triple H is my guy because people are looking at me like the Iron Cross guy, like that the guy who came out and like blackface to mock the Nation of Domination. It was a wild time. But yeah, it's hard. And that leads into the biggest problem. When this was happening, I was, man, well, okay, so when this storyline was happening, okay, hold on. So this leads us into the biggest mishap when it comes to Triple H, right? This makes it even harder to be a Triple H fan. And it's something that a friend of mine and I talked about on our podcast, and it's the Booker T incident. And there's been we uploaded a couple of videos on my channel over on TikTok and over on YouTube, and like there's been some discussion on there, but it is truly one of the biggest reasons why it's hard for me to say I'm a Triple H fan, because like it or not, like I was training in wrestling. I did a couple matches as a trainee during this time. And in all honesty, when I'm saying that Triple H is the greatest of all time within the WWE system, I mean it. Like his footwork is amazing. During a time where everybody was throwing clotheslines and forearms, my dude was doing high knees. Like this is wild. Like he was so innovative in his time. I mean, like he took Johnny Ace's Ace Crusher for a little bit. Like he was doing stuff. He was trying to find himself. And like, if you go back to watch early Triple H matches from WCW, his time in WWE and up, it's like hard not to fall in love with his wrestling journey. And it also makes it even sadder. Like, I hate saying sadder, but it makes it sad, the fact that like he won't be looked at as the guy because of his choice in marrying Stephanie. Like, it sucks to say that like who this man decided to fall in love with has asterisked his career. But that's neither here or there. What we're talking about is the incident of Booker T and like just the racist undertones of this whole story. Now, this feud began in the early 2000s, and it's the feud that changed the way I looked at Triple H. And I've had people call this storyline like traditional heel versus face storylines, but it really isn't, because it doesn't end the way traditional heel versus face storylines end. The heel says these horrible things, yes, but then the babyface gets to come up and wins. It's the big payoff, and justice prevails. But not in this feud. Triple H gets to say some wildly racist things, horrible things to Booker T. He questions his legitimacy. Asterisk, speaking of asterisks to this, Triple H does not say anything that Kevin Nash really hasn't said before, which is weird. It's not weird. Now, when you think about it, they have hung out a lot of their past, and maybe to present, they kind of like share the same thing. Although Triple H, one could argue, is more right leaning than Kevin Nash is left leaning, but Kevin Nash is one of the first white wrestlers I've ever heard say the term, or not the term, but the statement that why couldn't Booker T just be Booker T? Like, why does he have to be this like shucking, jiving guy? And it's the same thing Kevin Nash would bring up currently about another black wrestler that I'm not familiar with, but as an African-American guy and an African-American pro wrestler, I kind of do get and understand, which is, I know it's a shock to hear from me say what Kevin Nash is trying to get at is, why do all our wrestlers have to have some weird, dancey, like wild, I'm going to get your mama, just shucking and jiving, Funkasaurus, the gold hair, just weird stuff. Trust me, it had been years, decades until we got the Hurt Business. And then we didn't really get the Hurt Business in WWE. That gimmick was parlayed over to the bloodline. But to get something where like it was just black wrestlers that were just cool just to be cool and not doing some weird shucking and jiving shit, like it took decades for that. So Kevin Nash is saying some shit. It's just that he's a white guy saying some shit. So we kind of have to look at it with a tilted head when he's saying it. But the same thing Triple H is giving in this promo that I'm not a fan of, but it just goes more right. Like not right, but right leaning towards like conservative, right? He mentions to Booker T that he's just out here to entertain, which at that time it's like, yeah, bro, like this promo that Triple H gives to Booker T is a promo that fits when talking to like R-Truth, right? Like basically, why are you out here? You're just out here to coon, bro, entertain. Yeah. Now, this promo is so wild that WWE on their YouTubes, on their websites and streaming sites, they will edit out all this wild stuff because even they recognize it's fucking crazy. Like, why would you say this? He brings up Booker T's nappy hair, which is like he has dreads. I don't know if you would call that nappy. Whatever. I have dreads. Maybe I just feel some way about it. And he talks about like racial stereotypes. Look it. Everything that he's saying in this promo is a great promo. It's amazing. Hell, Triple H, Paul Levesque deserves an Emmy for this promo. He deserves an Oscar for the promo. The promo in itself isn't bad. It's how it ended. It's not traditional storyline or heel versus face storyline. If it was going to end the way it ended, like this promo should not have been in it. That's all I'm saying. Like this is like wild stuff. And so that promo really did make me look at Triple H differently. Like as I said, it's all what happens at the end. Now, at this time, you have to remember, I'm just a kid. Like when I say I'm a kid, I'm a kid. I shouldn't even be here, but I'm being trained by the most amazing luchadors in Southern California. I'm talking about Infernal, Silver Tiger, Little Cholo, Martin down at WPW. So I'm being smartened up to the business. Like I'm learning things. I'm learning our lingo. I'm learning the carny talk, if you will. I'm learning why decisions are being made and all other stuff. And I'm also learning a term that in this era of pro wrestling that's being used called 50-50 booking. And so in the era of 50-50 booking, it makes sense that Booker T is set to win this match. Everything is set up for him. He's being talked down to. He's being told how people like him, the African-American face, do not get to win the title because they look like him, right? We know what this means in the era of 50-50 booking. I believe Booker T loses that Monday night, right? And then he goes on to the pay-per-view to lose again. That's not how 50-50 booking works. 50-50 booking in the era of 50-50 booking means normally you would be able to know who's going to win the match. If you lost the match on Monday, the pay-per-view, you're going to win. Like that's just how that crap works. So you're with me. You're like, okay, all right, I get it. The promo was a little much. Booker T loses the match, and that's an ouch. But I mean, does the hero have to always win? Isn't some of the most like awesome matches or TV shows in cinema the hero loses and has to go back up? Yes, you are right. But this comes to how Booker T lost. So at this point in the match, we learn that everything that Triple H has said to Booker T is true. People that look like Booker T can't cut it in his heavyweight division. You cannot cut it at the top. You do not belong here. And basically every negative stereotype that Triple H has told Booker T he is coming true. And the icing on the cake is Triple H gives this man a pedigree and leaves him in the mat right there for like 4 minutes, like 4 minutes of rest, which when I'm saying this to you, you're like, well, that's not a long time. But I implore you, type up the match and go look at it. Watch it. Watch how long my man is on the mat. And then Triple H doesn't run. He saunters over and pins him and gets the slowest 1, 2, 3. And now as a newly smartened wrestler, African-American wrestler, I have to ask myself, why would he do that? Like, this doesn't It just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you do that to somebody unless you truly don't like that person? Like, this is not a mistake. Triple H is not an idiot. Like, everybody knew Triple H at this time to be the guy who was the next guy. When people were talking about who's going to take over WWE when Mr. McMahon left, Triple H's name was being brought up. And it wasn't just because he was great in the ring, it was because people respected his mind for the business. Well, nobody does that kind of business unless you just really don't like black people. And that's how I felt. And that's why he will always have an asterisk by his name, because like this, that doesn't make sense. It would be years before we would see Booker T as a top guy again. Like it took time to redo the damage was done. And to be honest, Booker T accidentally fell into the top spot he was put in. He wasn't put there on purpose. There's a lot of people, him himself, that would say like, nobody expected the whole King Booker thing to take over. It just did. Like he was never expected to be in that spot. It's just something that happened. And unfortunately, when something happens that naturally, like they have to go with it. So Triple H did so much damage to Booker T. It was just, it was bad. It was bad. He spent the rest of the years until King Booker doing tag matches. The best thing he did outside of this was his best of 5 series, I believe, with Chris Benoit. And that's the moment that changed everything for me when it came to Triple H, because at this point, Triple H isn't just a wrestler. He's someone with influence. And if you're saying, well, Triple H probably didn't come up with his ending and, some producer did. And I'll say like, yeah, you're probably right. But Triple H had enough power and influence at that time to just say, no, we're not doing that. We're going to end this like it should be ended. And he didn't. And what makes this incident worse, and this part doesn't spill over to the asterisk that is Triple H's career. This is mostly Booker T. And Booker T is like also another confusing person to root for and be behind, because as I said in the video with my man Wyatt, like he also doesn't understand or will not admit that this was like a horrible business decision or booking decision. He's the guy in the house. He's not sick, or he's not sick. We sick, right, boss? That's Booker T, man, and it's so sad. But this is where I land. This is where I'm at when it comes to Triple H. Respectfully, Triple H is the greatest WWE superstar of all time. His technical skills, his storytelling skills, the psychology, his longevity, and his understanding of presentation is out of this world. I don't think anybody within the WWE, the closest person I think that could touch him, maybe not on the technical side because he doesn't have to be technical, is Roman Reigns. But this guy, like, they get it. Like, he gets it, and he is the greatest within the WWE system. Disrespectfully, some of his choices and decisions through storylines and business decisions and backstage choices and some of his power dynamics have made it really hard to champion his career. And that's the contradiction. Loving someone while accepting their fatal flaws, right? Like, it's just, I can recognize his greatness while still holding him accountable. And I don't know Triple H personally. I'm just a content creator trying to make it big. And I'm also just looking at what's publicly available, the stories, the matches, and the decisions at the end of the day. And what I see is somebody who helped define what wrestling is for a new and current generation, while also creating crazy moments that still don't sit right with me. But maybe that's wrestling in a nutshell. If you grew up during the ruthless aggression and the Attitude Era, let me know who your favorite wrestler was. And did WWE ever cross the line in your opinion? When was it? And how did it affect you? Let me know in the comments below. As usual, guys, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you guys later. Stay excellent.